I started off when I was watching your videos with you going to East New York and hitting the housing projects, stuff nobody sees. That's kind of your bag, your jam. You make this joke in the beginning. This place has no Starbucks anywhere. That's how you know it's not gentrified yet. But it really does actually indicate that it's not gentrified like at all. It's almost just forgotten in many ways, right? You've got like the local bodegas and the pizza shop and not much else, and a lot of stuff was closed. What struck you at first when you walked in there and into these complexes?
There's all sorts of things happening, but one positive I'd say is I like the community. Nobody's lonely in those places. Everybody sort of knows everybody. Uh, that's nice. I thought, especially during COVID times, it was um, it was just they brought me in. I doing those hood videos. I know nothing about inner city America, but I'm really interested. I think a lot of people are. And unless you really dig into it and like get in deep, it's just going to be someone giving a narration and some visuals of what it is,
Yeah.
which isn't real. Uh, I've enjoyed doing those are exciting videos to make because there's a lot of moving parts. You have to ask questions that are interesting enough and maybe provocative to some degree, but you can't cross a line. I mean, with a lot of different groups, right? As the outsider, you're going in. So you have to really feel that balance. There's always something happening. There's always something you haven't seen. I've learned a lot in these videos.
That video blew me away in a lot of ways. The first building I think you went into, she said, "Oh, there's 1,542 apartments in it." And it was one of many buildings in one housing project, I guess you would call it, like a group of 4 or 5 buildings, and it just gives us, and that's in one city, right? One borough actually of New York. So that gives us a scale of just the poverty in that one part of Brooklyn. One borough of New York City has, I guess if there's 4 buildings there, I mean, you're talking like 6,000-ish apartments. I
Yeah,
mean, it's just,
huge
and
scale.
that's whole families living in there. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and so an observation in those places are nicer than where I lived in Ukraine. So I'm coming in with a different perspective. I'm like, the infrastructure is amazing in these hoods. How is that? Look at these parks. Look at these curbs, these sidewalks. And you go into the actual projects, and it's up to somebody how clean they want to keep their house or if they want to keep it messed up. But the conditions of the ones I went into were fine. Is it luxurious living? Of course not. So that was a big eye opener, honestly. If even in South Central LA. Now, the problems might not be on the surface. That's what I've also learned. You're in a place that doesn't look so terrible, and people say it's really dangerous here. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't, feels pretty fine, but you don't know as an outsider. And there's a whole dynamic going on, and there's all that inner beef. I've learned a whole new lexicon too in the hood. I never said
Yeah.
beef before.
No, I was gonna say beef sounds like one of the words you learn when you hang out in those areas. You said in the video you just got invited to go check it out. How do you get the ideas for the videos that you create? I mean, if you don't even know a subculture exists, how do you get the idea to go visit and document that subculture?
Okay, so coming back from Ukraine, I mean, it was sort of easier to like, I'm going to go to Iran and document this. Never really easy, but it was sort of like I sort of had an idea. Then coming back to the U.S., it's like, what am I going to do? Go to someone's office and watch them smash a spreadsheet? Obviously not. So, I have to think of like what's different. And
Yeah.
when I was in Vermont that first month back in the States, okay, New York's a dynamic place. We all know Manhattan. We all know like the big sites, but what is beneath the surface there? That's when the BLM was going on. I made a video, BLM in the whitest state in America, in Vermont, and that was the toughest video I made, but very interesting. And it's sort of like, okay, now I want to go to these black, because it basically Vermont's pretty much all white. Now I want to go to these black neighborhoods and hear what people have to say. And my goal wasn't to get political with this. It's just I was curious. I'm like, what's
Sure.
going on? I've been out of the States for 4 years, and there's a lot of tension right now. Let me go talk to people. Like, I don't want a filter. That's the thing. You know this in traveling. Whatever information you get, it's always coming through a filter. Even my viewers are seeing it through my filter, right? And I try to be as honest and open as possible, but it's just the way I'm seeing the world. So the only way to really get the truth is get out there your own and ask a lot of people a lot of questions. And so going to the hoods, I could ask a lot of questions. A lot of the same questions to different people. That's how you find a consensus or where things are at to some degree.
How do you make your plan? You got to have some logistics in place for this versus just showing up with the GoPro, right? You've got to have a person, a contact. Are these people usually fans at some level of your channel and they DM you and you're like, that's a good idea? Or do you hire a fixer when you get to where you're going?
Mostly the I put something on my social medias. Anyone know of anyone in the hood, for example? Uh, for example, Shlomi, the Hasidic Jew, reached out to me. So a lot of it comes organically through my
Yeah.
fan base. But I've hired an assistant. And for example, we're posting this Cowboys and Ranchers series right now. Just shot it all the way from West Texas up to Montana. And there was a lot of groundwork that she did, finding the right ranches, finding the right people. So I'm putting more into that. Is it's really like if you're a chef, the best food you're gonna make is gonna you gotta have skill, but you really need good ingredients. And so the people in my video are the ingredients. And it's really important I find the right people. I get lucky a lot. Like I've had very few people that just fell short on the camera. But overall, putting a lot more effort into that.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. I feel like for me, I definitely record shows where I go, oh God, that could have gone better. But mostly at this point, I think I'm able to see who's going to be able to give a good interview or drag a good interview out of them, kicking and freaking screaming, somehow. But with camera, on camera you don't necessarily get that same option, right? Because if they
Yeah.
can't perform, they can't perform, or if they freeze up, they freeze up, and that's it.
My number one job is to make someone relaxed in front of the camera. So
How,
step one, GoPro.
yeah, go step one, GoPro. Step two, do you preface it with anything? Like, do you have any sort of, let's sit down and talk for a while about growing
No,
up and here? No,
no,
no tactics like that.
just have a casual conversation. I realize too is not to like put any pressure or say like, oh, we're gonna start recording now.
Right.
I just go with it. I just, I'll start recording when I feel it's right. Like maybe it's right from the beginning, or maybe we talk for a while and we're hanging out, and then I just start recording down at the sky and bring the camera down. And I'm like, so James, where are we exactly right now? We've already talked for a while, so it's just sort of goes. And beauty of editing is you can, if anything gets off, you can just cut it out in the edit.
Well, that's funny. I mean, it's the same thing with our interview that started 16 minutes into our conversation or
Right.
something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that, right?
Same thing.
Yeah.
Really similar.
Yeah. I think the worst thing you can do as an interviewer or as probably a creator is go, okay, we're starting. Hey, it's Peter Santanello here, everybody. All right. And then the person's like, oh crap, it's starting. And that's it.
Exactly.
That the rest of it's terrible from there out unless they're a rock star.
Exactly.
In the hood video, in the New York one that we were just discussing, the guys you met in the morning, your host Kashmir, the first thing he did, I mean, he's a funny character actually. The first thing he did was buy a vape pen, a small bottle of liquor, and a juice, and then he went to a dice game. And I was like, "Oh, he's playing it up for you." But one of the guys said, "Oh yeah, we do this every day." And but really, I hoped that was not true because it made me a little bit sad. The guys are like in their 20s, maybe 30s, and I'm like, "Please tell me all you do every day is not just drink outside, smoke weed, roll dice, and gamble." Please. It made me feel empty inside just hearing that.
Some do.
It to lack purpose like that is profoundly hollow somehow,
Oh, yeah.
right? It
Oh,
just
oh,
that's
yeah.
sad.
And if your environment's like that, everyone around is
Mhm.
like that, it's uh look, Cash is a rapper. Cash makes some great music. I don't know what else he's doing for work these days, but he works hard, at least at music. So I don't think he's just sitting around playing at dice all day. But a lot of guys are.
Mhm.
And if
Yeah,
if your dad did that and your friends do that, what's gonna make you step out from that? Some will. I just did a video in Atlanta. It was titled "Rich Atlanta," and this guy grew up in the hood. Now he's
I
crushing
saw that one.
crushing in real estate. Yeah, I mean he's very well dressed, well spoken. His emotional that's what people get in the hood too. Emotional intelligence. They can read anything. They can read you up and down, right through you in 1 second, immediately, because it's a survival skill in those areas where things aren't always stable. You have to read your surroundings really well. So it can actually a guy that can break through and gets in sales like real estate can do really well.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose it's a survival skill that can serve you well if you are also intelligent and you figure out how to capitalize on opportunity and you are able to put yourself around those opportunities. So it's not. I want to clarify, and look. Don't let me put words in your mouth, but I want to make sure that people aren't like, oh, well, you have this advantage when you're there. You have every
Oh
disadvantage,
yeah,
but you at least
yeah.
are building one skill that maybe you can leverage.
No, I think it's, it's an issue that needs to be addressed, and I really, it really bothers me that there aren't some. Maybe there are. I just haven't seen it. Some very wealthy people or people with clout, right? Why doesn't, say, Obama and Oprah Winfrey in Chicago get together and say, we have a really bad problem in South Chicago, South Side. We're going to make this a test for the rest of the country. And we're going to put all the resources in here. We're going to do the summer camps for the kids. We're going to do as much as we can to turn this around. Because if your father has, if a guy has 8 kids with 8 different mothers in 8 locations, your odds are stacked against you. And that's happening a lot. It happens to a lot of kids, their father's not there. So how do you change these cycles? And from my understanding, all the people I've talked to, you have to go in at the kids level, and you go in hard with all of the resources. It's not just money either. People need good role models. They need inspiration. They need to see that there's a way out, right? I Until that happens at a large scale, I don't see any of this changing, and it's just getting worse. So yeah, I'm not saying it's an advantage to grow up in the hood because your emotional intelligence is great and you'll go crush it in sales. I'm just giving an example there of,
Yeah, of course.
here's a guy that figured it out. But most people, if your father threw trash on the side of the road, you're going to throw trash on the side of the road. Most likely, it's just how it works. And so we need to go as a country. Again, you can have these areas live in their own ecosystem, and you look the other way and ignore. But it's like a salad. I'd like to, like, a country is like a salad. You can have all great ingredients, but if you put bad dressing in at the top, it's going to ruin the whole salad. Maybe a bad metaphor, but the point is, you want to make all areas of society healthy and doing well, right? And then everyone's going to benefit from that, right?
Yeah.
I'm oversimplifying big time.
Of course. Yeah, no,
But
of course. I'm the king of terrible metaphors, so I appreciate that you threw that one out there.
yeah,
It still works.
it's a bad one, but the point is, it really bothers me that more attention isn't put into these neighborhoods. And you need to hold people accountable for things too. It's not just throw a bunch of money. That will not fix a damn thing. It's just going to buy, for many people, more booze and more food to eat, playing dice. For many of them, it will. They need to see a way out, and there needs to be, like, rewards and carrots and sticks of some sort. I mean, that's the only way I got. I had a father that made me do things, and if I didn't, there was a punishment. And thank God for that, because I have to post a video every week right now, and I have to grind through it at times, and I might do away with a night of sleep because I'm grinding, but it's because I had that in my childhood, like that internal battle that was like, he fostered that in my head. Like, you do your work. If you say you're going to do something, you follow through. If you don't follow through, you have no credibility in life. And so if I'm going to do a video every week, no matter what, I have to post that video. And especially on a platform like YouTube or what you're doing, that's a necessity. I can't be like, I'm just really tired, I'm just going to not do it
Yeah.
this week. And it doesn't work that way.